Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you're watching World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. President Donald Trump signs legislation to end the longest U.S. government shutdown hours after the House votes to restore services and pay federal workers. The bill passes 222 to 209, with Trump keeping Republicans united as Democrats protest the lack of a deal on health subsidies. Kremlin has said that Ukraine would have to negotiate with Russia sooner or later and has predicted that Kyiv's negotiating position would get worse by the day. Kremlin has also accused the Ukrainian officials of refusing to engage in peace talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has ordered sanctions on associate and former business partner at the heart of a major corruption scandal, rocking Kyiv during a time of war. The move comes a day after Zelensky fired his energy and justice ministers over a giant money laundering scheme in the energy sector. The IDF has reported that it carried out airstrikes against a Hezbollah weapons depot and adjacent underground site belonging to the terror group in southern Lebanon. Investigators say DNA from Dr. Omar Nabi Bhatt, who allegedly drove the I-20 car in Monday's India's Red Fort blast that killed 13 people, matches his mother's sample. Confirming his identity, police believe that Bhatt led a white-collar doctor group in terror module busted days before the explosion. The White House says President Trump did nothing wrong after Democrats released emails suggesting he knew of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse and spent time with the victim. Trump dismisses the disclosures as hoax and accuses Democrats of using the Epstein case to distract from the shutdown. Indigenous protesters defended charging the gates of Brazil's COP30 climate summit and clashing with security, saying the action was aimed at demonstrating the desperation of their fight for forest protection. Now we start with Russia and Ukraine. The Kremlin says Russia remains open to reaching a political and diplomatic settlement on the war in Ukraine. But Moscow warns it will keep fighting in the absence of such an agreement to ensure its own security. Officials said Russia believes dialogue with Europe will eventually resume, despite the current breakdown in relations. The Kremlin also insisted that Ukraine will have to negotiate with Russia sooner or later, claiming Kyiv's bargaining position is worsening day by day. The remarks comes as fighting continues on multiple fronts, with no clear sign of peace talks resuming soon. Now for this discussion, we welcome Glenn Grant. He's an ex-advisor to Ukrainian Defense Minister, joins us live from Riga. Thank you very much, Glenn, for joining us again on this topic. Good to see you. Glenn, from your deep understanding and knowledge, also expertise on this, how does Ukraine view Russia's renewed statements about being open to a diplomatic settlement amid continued fighting?
Well, I think it's quite clear that from the Russian words that Russia is in pain and is actually looking for a way out. And the tone of their words have changed slightly over the last year, but now they're really struggling because of the longer range attacks into Russia that are causing huge damage to the economics of the country. But Lavrov has said this week that Russia will not accept anything except full capitulation from Ukraine, and Ukraine is not going to do that. So it's a bit of a nonsense, but it's also public relations back inside the country for people in Russia, and public relations for the USA to try and show, look, we're the good guys, we're open for negotiations, but that negotiations can only be on our terms. And threatening Ukraine that it's going to get worse. Actually, at the moment, it's getting worse for Russia more than it's getting worse for Ukraine.
And Glenn, what factors would determine Kyiv's readiness to engage in potential negotiations, and what factors would determine Russia's readiness to engage in potential negotiations, as Russia
Kiev
says.
Yeah, I mean, Kiev's side is quite clear that Russia's got to stop fighting and withdraw. Because Kiev doesn't trust Russia to stop and then not carry on, because every time they've had a ceasefire in any other country or other years of this war, that Russia hasn't really kept to the ceasefire agreement. I mean, I think there have been 25 ceasefires already, or 24, sorry, and each one of those Russia has broken. So I don't think that anybody in Kiev is going to believe a ceasefire. So Russia has got to stop and withdraw. But Russia's condition, they're not going to go for peace unless Ukraine capitulates and puts a pro-Russian government into power. And that's not going to happen either.
And what do you think, what conditions would need to change for meaningful negotiations between Russia and Ukraine to resume?
It's quite simple. Russia's either got to be beaten or Russia's got to stop and withdraw. There can be no other way, because Ukraine is fighting for its life. And when you're fighting for your life, you have no choice but to fight. You can't sort of lose half a leg and accept, okay, I'll give in now, or 2 legs, I'll give in now, or 2 legs, 2 arms, I'll give in now. You know, if you're fighting for your life, you keep fighting to the last drop, and Ukraine will have to do that and will do that. So those conditions are very much on Russia's side, not on Ukraine's side. Remember, it was Russia that invaded. Ukraine had nothing to do with this. So you know, the onus is on Russia to change its policies, not on Ukraine.
And last but not least, Glenn, how do you think, how credible are Russia's recent statements about being open to political and diplomatic settlement with Ukraine?
They're not open. I mean, let's be absolutely blunt. I mean, they just want capitulation. So they'll say all the nice words that you can have, and Lavrov's been saying them often. But you know, when he talks to people like the Americans or the Brits, then he's very, very clear that Russia will not accept anything except full capitulation of Ukraine. And I'm sorry, but there's no halfway house in this. It's not going to happen.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Glenn Grant for sharing that insight as an ex-advisor to Ukrainian Defense Minister from Riga. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Pakistan. Pakistan's parliament has approved a sweeping constitutional amendment granting lifetime immunity to the president and current army chief. The changes grant Army Chief Asim Munir, recently promoted to Field Marshal after Pakistan's clash with India in May, to command over the Army, Air Force and the Navy. Any officer promoted to Field Marshal, Marshal of the Air Force or Admiral of the Fleet will now retain rank and privilege for life, remaining in uniform and enjoy immunity from criminal proceedings. Previously, the protections were reserved only for the head of the state. However, the bill specifies that this protection would not apply if a former president later holds another public office. The decision has now withdrawn criticism from Pakistan's opposition, PTI. Let's listen in.
This entire amendment is an assault on the judicial system of Pakistan. Please remember what has happened. They have created a new constitutional court which will be above the Supreme Court of Pakistan. This new constitutional court will be created by the Prime Minister, who will appoint the Chief Justice in his discretion.
Meanwhile, the former caretaker of the Pakistan's Prime Minister has raised the concerns over democratic checks. Let's listen in.
There's a huge backlog of many cases in Pakistan. Our judicial performance index is not that promising. So there is a realization, there was a need from last 2 decades or 3 decades that there should be some division between a constitutional court and the normal courts, where this division of the nature of the cases should be handled, and a relief in that manner should be given to the common plaintiffs.
Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General A.K. Siwachi. He's a geostrategic expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Major General, for joining us on this topic. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, looking at this, how might granting lifetime immunity to President and Army Chief affect Pakistan's balance of civil-military relations, and what implications could this amendment have for Pakistan's democracy?
You know, as far as Pakistan is concerned, it was a military state in any way because the army controlled their defense as well as foreign affairs. And out of 78 years of their independence, majority of the time the Pakistan army which is ruling, or if it is not ruling directly, then it is ruling from behind. And you know, there is a saying in Pakistan, the actual power flows from Rawalpindi, not from Islamabad. So the question comes is that now what they have done is they have elevated the appointment of Chief of Army Staff as the Chief of Defence Forces, and he will remain senior to the Navy as well as the Air Force Chief, and he will enjoy the almost absolute power. And the point which is there is that he has also been given an immunity, and Article 27 has been amended. Now the chairman of Joint Chief of Staff has been now scrapped off. So one can say that 2-3 things are now become very important. The more power will lie with the Chief of Army Staff, and he is now elevated to a Chief of Defence Forces, and other two forces will be responsive to him. Second, he will have immunity. He will become almost at par with the President and the Prime Minister of the country. Now that is very, very important. In fact, certain decision which has to be taken of the army will be taken directly by him. And the courts are also being now, being restructured. So overall, what it says is that the democracy of the Pakistan has weakened, and the power is now more lying with the Chief of Defence Forces, that as on today is Field Marshal Munir. And you will find it that as the time pass by, the more power will come to the army. And as it is, you know, as far as economy is concerned, Pakistan economy is in shambles, and they run a parallel economy as far as the army is concerned. There is a FEUD Foundation which has a budget of $174 billion, from cement to Colgate and bank to real estate are being done or run by the Pakistan army, and they are running a parallel economy, and they are not giving the taxes. And on top of that, you will find now the Chief of Defence Forces will be becoming more powerful. He will have a lot of say in defence matters, also on foreign affairs, and also on the economical matters. So the question which comes is Pakistan have a democracy? It doesn't seem to be. The democracy has died long time back, and you will only find that which party will come into power, it all depends which party the Pakistan army wants. If you remember, the earlier Imran Khan came into power because it was Pakistan army wanted, and this time they wanted Nawaz Sharif to come in power, so that's how he is in Shahbaz Sharif is ruling the PMLN. And whereas as of today Imran Khan, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is most popular leader and with more number of seats, but he's put in jail. So the point is the control of Pakistan is under Pakistan army. And today Pakistan army Chief of Defence Forces Munir, General Munir, now Field Marshal Munir, has have an absolute power. And this is one can say and the end of democracy in Pakistan, which is very, very unfortunate, and you will find it in time to come. Pakistan will become a military autocratic state.
And as you mentioned, Major General, like Pakistan, this is end of democracy for Pakistan. How could these changes influence regional stability and Pakistan's defense posture now? And what does this change mean to India?
You know, I don't think it is going to make a tremendous impact as far as the relationship with India is concerned, because Pakistan has a saying there that they follow hybrid warfare, and their policy of bleeding India with 1,000 cuts will remain, and they use terrorism as a state instrument, and they differentiate between the terrorists as a good terrorist and bad terrorist. The terrorists which they are sending toward India, they call them good terrorists, Lashkar-e-Toba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and the terrorists which are hitting them, Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan will call them bad. So therefore, there will be no change. They will try to fight against TTP, but they'll keep on sending terrorists to India. But what will happen is that today the chief of army staff, now a chief of defense forces, will become very powerful, and he will become very powerful. So Pakistan army will become bold, and therefore they will do adventurism. They will send more terrorists. So the what will happen is the chances of peace between India and Pakistan will reduce tremendously low. That is what is going to happen. In case there could have been a chance of a relationship improving, should the Pakistan stop cross-border terrorism. But if the Chief of Defence Forces enjoy this part, and then Field Marshal Asim Munir, I don't think there is a chance, because he will keep on supporting terrorists and they will become bold. You will find the relationship deteriorate, and you will find that they will try to do misadventure in Jammu and Kashmir. They are also trying something circular. So the relationship will go downhill, and the chances of a clash will increase, and they will fully make use of terrorism. However, one thing is very clear, that internal situation of Pakistan is not going to improve. Today there is a political instability, economic crisis, increase in terrorism, having a very poor relation with Taliban government in Afghanistan, not too good relation with Iran because they sent Jaisal al-Adal militant group, and not very good relation with India. They are almost on a war type platform. So I'll say, as far as internal situation concerned, it will only go from present to a bad situation. But as far as India is concerned, it is not a good news. The relationship between India and Pakistan will further deteriorate, because Pakistan army will now try to send more terrorists toward India and try to use the terrorist module which has been now unearthed in Delhi, where they were trying to do number of blasts, but they managed to get it one. So the point is, you will find it, this sort of activity will increase, cross-border terrorism increase, the relationship will go down, and you will find a war type situation prevailing most of the time between India and Pakistan, because Pakistan will not stop sending terrorists.
And Major General, allow me to bring U.S. into this conversation of ours. How might this amendment influence Pakistan's defense and security cooperation with the United States, as U.S. supposedly supports democracy over autocracy?
You know, as far as Pakistan is concerned, for America, it is a strategic asset. Pakistan, most of the time, has been ruled by the military. And majority of the time when it is ruled by military, that is the time when they have the best of the relation with America. As far as US interest is concerned, it does not make a difference whether it is the army which is now controlling or civil forces. But if it is army controlling, it makes their work easier, because army is can be manipulated, and for a dollar they can do anything. So they will like that the power should rest with army, because then it becomes one-point contact as far as US is concerned. Now, why Pakistan is very important for US is because strategic location. They want bases in Pakistan. If they have to keep an eye in Afghanistan, whether it's Al-Qaeda or ISIS, or against Russia or China, and also against Iran, in case if they are full-fledged war, they need bases. Remember when Al-Johari was killed in Kabul, the drones flew from Pakistan itself. So therefore, Pakistan, as far as US is concerned, it will try to make use of Pakistan. They consider it a strategic asset. They will have their bases there. Now cryptocurrency is added on. They will have a business of that. They also, the critical minerals, they will try to explore. The Pasni Island, which Pakistan has already said that they are ready to give it. There is a back channel deal which is already going with Pakistan. So the point is, in case if there is an autocratic rule of the military, it suits America. It doesn't make a difference who is ruling it. Whether it meets the interest of US, that is more important. And in case if the army takes control of of Pakistan, it is far better for US, because then it's a one-point contact. So therefore, the point is, thinking that US is today the oldest democracy, and it wants the democracy to prevail all over the world. I think that's a fake narrative. They only look after their own national interest, and for their national interest, they will like the powers to be, have it in one hand, and that is the Pakistan army, which is easy to be manipulated the way the US wants.
Major General, please allow me to now bring Afghanistan to in this. How could Pakistan's enhanced military authority and lifetime immunity for its top commanders affect its policy and influence in Afghanistan and its relationship with Afghanistan that is of course ongoing and it's not in good state?
As far as Afghanistan-Pakistan relations are concerned, they are going downhill, no doubt. In fact, when on 15th August 2021, when Taliban government came into power in Afghanistan, there was a lot of joyous movement which had taken place in Pakistan. They thought that now they will get a strategic depth which they were looking for. But India knew it that this happiness will not going to stay for long, because there are fault lines between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The fault line is Afghanistan does not recognize Durand line, and the Pashtun on the either side want to join Afghanistan, and they want to bring Sharia law. So the relation between Pakistan and Afghanistan are almost wartime. They already, have a very long tension in the border area. Pakistan army is not capable of fighting that well against Afghanistan Taliban in the border area, because Afghanistan Taliban are very good in guerrilla warfare. They already captured their 7 to 10 posts and killed almost 60 to 70 Pakistani soldiers. What Afghanistan lacks is air power, whereas Pakistan has a very strong air force. Now the question comes is that by making Munir as the Chief of Defense Forces, is it going to change? I don't think it's going to change much on this relationship. Only thing is that now they will become more bold. They will try to put pressure on Afghanistan. They will try to tell Taliban there that if case you do not take action against the TTP, if you don't allow them, if you allow them to have bases there, then the relationship are not going to be normal. So they will try to put pressure, tell the Afghan Taliban to not allow the TTP to have bases in Afghanistan. But whether they are going to agree, time will only tell. Their point is very clear. We have nothing to do with TTP. If you have any problem with TTP, resolve yourself. We have not given them any basis. So the point which comes is that at present, the relationship is not normal. They try to maintain good relation. The 3 talks which have taken place, first in Qatar, then twice in Turkey, but they have not reached to any conclusion because there is fault line. And Afghan Taliban is not ready to give anything in writing, saying that they will not give any basis to TTP. So therefore, I think the Afghanistan Taliban and Pakistan government will not have good relation in future, and you will find a war type situation prevailing because they have a fault line which cannot be crossed so soon.
Right. With that, I would like to thank retired Major General A.K. Siwachi for sharing that insight as a geopolitical strategic expert. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Turkey. Turkey's defense ministry says it is too early to determine the cause of a C-130 military cargo plane crash in Georgia that killed 20 of its soldiers. The aircraft had left Azerbaijan for Turkey carrying a 10% F-16 maintenance team, the flight crew, and equipment officials. Officials confirmed it was not carrying any ammunition. Its last radio contact was about 40 minutes before the crash. The black box is now in Ankara for analysis. The plane was bought from Saudi Arabia in 2012, modernized, and began service in 2022, with its last maintenance just a month ago. All flights of Turkey's 18 C-130 planes are suspended pending inspections as authorities investigate. This is what Turkish Defense Ministry spokesperson has said.
Azerbaycan'ın 8 Kasım Zafer Günü kapsamında uçuş yapan F-16'larımızın bakım ekibini ülkemize getirmek maksadıyla Azerbaycan'dan havalanan ve uçuş ekibi ile birlikte 20 personelimizin bulunduğu C-130 askeri kargo uçağımız 11 Kasım'da Azerbaycan-Gürcistan sınırında düşmüştür. Yaşanan elim hadisede 20 kahraman silah arkadaşımız şehit olmuştur. Olayın meydana geliş sebebi kaza kırım ekibinin incelemesi sonrası açıklığa kavuşacaktır. Düşen uçakta hayatını kaybeden aziz şehitlerimize bir kez daha Allah'tan rahmet, kederli ailelerine, Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri ile asil milletimize başsağlığı ve sabır diliyoruz.
Now we move on to Europe. Germany is boosting its military strength through a new voluntary service plan. The government aims to grow active troops to 260,000 and reservists to 200,000 by the early 2030s. Recruitment incentives include better pay and improved conditions to attract volunteers. All 18-year-old men will have to fill out a military readiness questionnaire from 2026 with physical exams in 2027. This data could be used to reinstate conscription if voluntary recruitment targets are not met. The plan hopes for 20,000 new recruits in 2026, rising to 38,000 by 2030, with training starting in May 2026. Let's in fact listen into what the German Defense Minister, CDU floor leader, has said.
Ich freue mich jetzt darauf, dass wir in den nächsten Wochen die Beratungen schnell zu Ende bringen und dann das Gesetz zum 1. Januar in Kraft treten wird. Ich will es nochmal betonen, die freiwillig Wehrdienstleistenden, die zu uns kommen, werden ein Bruttoeinkommen haben von 2.600 Euro rund. Bei einigen, je nach ab einem Jahr Verpflichtungszeit, werden sie einen Zuschuss bekommen zu einem Führerschein, wechselseitig entweder Pkw oder Lkw. Davon profitiert wiederum auch die Truppe dann, wenn es in die Reserve geht. Also insgesamt ein rundes, attraktives Paket.
Natürlich verpflichten, so sieht es auch das Grundgesetz vor, können wir nur die Männer. Das Angebot machen werden wir aber Männern wie Frauen. Also 700.000 ist etwa ein Jahrgang. Alle 700.000 werden angeschrieben werden, Informationen bekommen. Allein das wird ja auch schon zu Gesprächen und sich auseinandersetzen.
Now we move on to Spain. Spain has imposed a €5 million fine against Elon Musk's owned social media platform X. This penalty relates to crypto asset advertising that reportedly did not have the necessary authorization. The CNMV Spain stock market regulator has found that X failed to verify whether the said company had approval to provide its investment services in Spain, which led them to take prompt action. Now, the fine was issued on the 3rd of November last week, and the news of it was formally published in Spain's official state gazette earlier in the day. However, X still has the option to challenge the decision before Spain's High Court. Spain has been monitoring crypto advertising since 2022 to protect its investors. Moreover, the CNMV regularly reviews mass campaigns and ensures risks are clearly communicated. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.